0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0. For the Salt Lake County Health Department, please press 6 now. Thank you for calling the Salt Lake County Government Center. Please select from the following options. For the Metro Jail, press 1. For Animal Services, press 2. For Aging and Adult Services, press 3. For Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, press 4. For the District Attorney's Office, press 5. For a list of all other offices, please press 0.
This system is temporarily unable to complete your call. Call again later. Goodbye.
Did we have a form?
We have a full board.
Oh, and Lori's here, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay.
Did you verify the JT or?
JT, could you let us know who you are? Is it JT from Taylorsville?
Yes, it is.
Well, good morning. Checking up on me, are you?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Just for a little bit.
Well, welcome. It's nice to have you. All
Thank
right,
you.
go ahead. Start our meeting, Lori. Welcome. All right, call to order. We've got our, and then we need an approval or adoption of the consent agenda. If someone, or if you have questions.
That we approve the consent agenda and docket today.
Thank you. A second? Emily. Second. Emily, thank you. That motion, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. We'll go ahead and open the meeting to public comments, and this is limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone here or online that would like to chat for 3 minutes? Seeing that there is none, we'll close the public meeting. We'll move on to business items. Our first 3.1 general manager's appointment is Helen Curd. We're so excited to have you, Helen. So many good things about you, and just we're sorry for Sandy, but we're grateful to have you. So I'll turn this over to our general manager, Pam Roberts.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to welcome Helen, because this is her going on her third week now.
And she's still smiling.
And she's still smiling. Yeah. She's very qualified for this position. She has over 20, I have in my letter 20 years, but it's actually over 25 years of government and public finance and budgeting experience. We're serving as the controller treasurer of Sandy City, most recently for 13 years, and I've been overall with
13.
Yeah, in that dual role. Prior to that, she was the city controller. And then started as an accountant and progressively worked her way up to leadership. She's come in, and I can tell you, hit the ground running, and I'm very thankful for that. As you know, we needed to prepare our 2025 budget, make sure that we have in here a key scenario that makes sense to sustain our district, and she has double checked the numbers and helped out with projections going forward. And then we'll get into a little bit more of science and forecasting, the crystal ball, so to speak. But anyway, I asked Ellen if I turn some time over to her to give a little intro. Before she does, I just want to say that her approach is really spot on. Professional maturity, emotional maturity, is a calm approach. Not afraid to pick up the phone and call our colleagues out there with fleet, with public works operations to really define what are our costs going to be or what do they project. Which we know that if you email back and forth, we don't. That's so important. So.
Oh, thank you, Pam. I don't leave it at that. Was pretty good. I'm full of my hand. I'm going to say university, probably PTA, 10 years in, that's when you got a job here in Utah, and came here ever since. Started my professional career really at Sandy City, started as an accountant, and that was going to be a 2-year gig, but turned into more like a decade. But yeah, I found a position opening, and I thought what a great fit it would be for me. It would be for also with just well, that is a big mouthful. Fortunately, we agreed, and did a whirlwind. That'll happen, but I have a lot of experience and am educated in public finance, being an accountant, controller, treasurer. Looking forward to here. Really happy to be here. Well, we're happy to have you here.
Gonna be clear, we're not that silly from Sandy.
Oh. We can.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Welcome, Helen. Next on our agenda, adoption of the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund, resolution granting authorization of Woodford executive staff. Pam, you want to, and General Manager Helen, do you want to, Helen, our finance director, want to take that on?
You bet. So we do need to have authorization for myself, Helen and Matt, Ferguson, our controller treasurer, to have access to the PTIS Public Treasurer's Investment Fund. We did transfer over $1 million from our capital investment to the PTIP. And Helen spearheaded that effort, and with Matt Ferguson's recommendation, move more money into our working capital, but it will accrue some interest in the PTIP first. And then Helen and I will go through and evaluate, does it make more sense to use the remaining 2.5 roughly million that's still in that capital advisory. Right now, PTIP is earning a higher interest, so we may want to move more of that, if not all, eventually. So if you want to speak to that, but I want to thank you for digging through and figuring out what you did to update our.
Oh, yeah, it was a resolution about, I'm going to but for PTIP, the state required us to do a resolution approved by the board so that we can advance our account with PTIP. So that would just be, I could add user and put their due information involved in that. But really, it just allows us to continue business as usual. It's a requirement of the daily habit. Resolution and and the safeguard account.
But I have to say that the PTI, that currently, at least that this recent last budget is on an annual basis, 5.4% return. So
Yeah.
it can easily add up.
Okay, I'll move approval of the adoption of the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund resolution granting authorization for Woodford executive staff, Pam Robert, General Manager, and Helen Kirk, Finance Director, and Matt Ferguson, our Controller and Treasurer.
This is Keith, I'll second that.
Okay, Lori and Keith is the second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll move to 3.3, General Manager's report, Pam. And Renee, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Katarina, do you have a question or?
Point of interest, Madam Chair, we need approval on business item 3.1.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, let's go back up to 3.1. We do need an approval on the appointment of Helen Kurtz as the District Finance Director. Do I have a motion on that? Robert and Lori, second?
Sure.
Okay, Robert Pinion makes that motion. Lori, thank you for your second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. You are official, Helen. Thank you very much. Thank you for that point of order. And 3.3, General Manager's report. Pam and Renee?
All right, so I'll kick it off and then I'll turn time over to Renee to go through some scratch that and other information about the HD 107 and how we're keeping in compliance from the hauler perspective, and then what we're going to do to help you stay in compliance. So Renee, if you'll flip to the employee satisfaction engagement, our leadership team with managers, supervisors, and lead equipment operators met on August 28th and August 29th with Pandardio. And the purpose of those two sessions were to go through communication course, so effectively communicating with one another. And it turned into an open forum, which I think is awesome, to where lead equipment operators and supervisors really brought forward some concerns that they would have. And the common theme that everyone has as far as their top three takeaways, what do we need to focus on as a leadership team, really centered around communication, which I'm not surprised. That is one of the, I think, top challenges that any organization has, is making sure that employees are all engaged and involved. And I think for our organization and for others that have frontline folks that are out there on the street or in the field, it creates even more of a challenge. we need to make sure that we remember to communicate effectively as best we can. So the top three that everyone identified, that they want to focus on is consistency, working together to get completed, and in a timely manner. What that means is route, so get your route done. So that, and there was a question of how do we make it more equitable? Workloads out there, so the team will look at that, especially with the lead equipment operators and then the frontline drivers. I believe there is a meeting coming up on Wednesday morning to follow up, and Renee's been designated as a facilitator because she's a little more, well, she's going to be the neutral party, let's say that, to help facilitate the discussion and allow the open. The second is build trust among everyone, show you care, build on one and ask if they are okay. So basically checking in with our team, frontline, meeting face to face with the team to get feedback and any changes, and give updates, changes to the team, explaining the why, and then get the feelings and input of the impact. So the other thing I think we do annual celebrations or get-togethers with our team. In September 12th, we did hold our annual barbecue where we have a central location where drivers can come in and get some food and visit. So this year was at Vista Park in Taylorsville. It seems to be on a Thursday is the best location because we're in Taylorsville collecting the waste and recycling. And then we do have this group in Harriman, and so we have a team that takes food out to them to connect as well. And then one of the neat things about Helen, she's just really eager to jump in. We had some people touring from Czechoslovakia. It was a Mill Creek neighbor, a neighbor of mine that had some people in from Czechoslovakia, and they were so amazed at our truck because obviously what we do here in the States is a lot different than what they do there. So they wanted to come and see the truck in action. Milos actually operated the truck, and then I asked him, would you like to get behind the wheel? And sure enough, she jumped right in. And I have to say, she did a really good job. So, anyway, hats off to everyone for making that happen. Jason Wong, our training coordinator, made sure that the truck was available for it. And then if you would jump forward to updates. And I will tell you a most recent update so I don't forget about it, is that we have been storing our containers for the scrap program, the roll-off containers out at what's now called Bingham Creek Park out there. It used to be called Welby Pit, and it's where Public Works always did, repurposing of asphalt and so forth. And we have our containers out there when we were under Salt Lake County. We continued on with that after separation with basically a verbal, let's go ahead and keep doing this. So we've had those containers out there for decades, ever since the program started, without paying anything. So Bingham Creek Park Authority has been established. Don Tingy reached out to me to basically say, we know you want to keep doing this, or actually he just verified that we want to keep doing that. So we're going to go back to the drawing board. I'll work with Rachel to get a 10-year agreement in place. Don was okay with a 10-year renewal. Basically, that park will be developed based on that fund. And my understanding from what Don told us, those are renewed every 10 years. So the section where we have the containers may not be even effective for another 15, 20 years. So the bottom line is we will probably need to pay for that, and the dollar amount is not huge. It'll be about 10 grand a year, which for storing now, 90 to 100 cans is pretty reasonable. So we'll have something formally in place and that will live on through time. So, and then I just wanted to give you an update. The fire suppression system at the truck barn is being completed. All repair work, it's all done for $41,688, and which is a little less than what we anticipated. And then, as you know, the cost split to Public Works Operations, who occupies the majority of that space, paying the most. And the concrete work has been completed on the east side, and the west side will start first part of October. Pretty excited about that. I want to shout out to our operations team who has been juggling moving trucks back and forth. They get fuel. It's a challenge. You know, our drivers are feeling it, but you know, they understand that in the long run, it's going to pay off. There is a seam in between the cement and asphalt, so Andy King, our asset manager, is working with Public Works Operations to fill that in so that cement does not erode through the winter. And then the plan, there's a long-range plan for asphalt replacement or repair, and the plan is in 2025, they would do the road. It goes back to the R 2026 that they would do this section and get that taken care of because it is in need of repair. Actually, to be honest, replacement. So we'll have to juggle moving trucks again, but if our team will make it happen. And then just to jump down to the bottom one, because I'm going to have Japheth and Ian here as well, and another thing from Zion, and we'll have them come up and talk to you all about what they're seeing from our financial forecasting. So we did go out for an RFP for health insurance, the benefit broker. We have narrowed it down to 2 stellar firms, and it's mainly a matter of reference checking right now. So Hazel's spearheading that reference check part and gathering information. I'd rather not say the firm's names right now, because we do know one of them definitely has been tuning in for the board meetings or at least reading minutes, which should be great. It's nice they have a big interest in it. So we'll get that back to you probably in October. All right. So Zion, financial advisory team here with us. And as you know, we engaged with them for financial advisory services to look at what we have and see if they can help us forecast. So the crystal ball that Kevin gave me, hopefully they can help with some of that forecasting going forward, because it'd be really nice to have a long-range plan in place for our finance and business. So Jason, may I turn some time over to you all? And
Yeah, where do you want?
thanks.
And
Yeah, if you want to.
yeah. Oh. Can I take one of those chairs right there and? I don't think it'll damage it, just sitting like this, so, it's a little weird now, but, hey, I know some of you and some of you know me, but Science Public Finance, we've got Lee Johnson back there. Lee is actually the brains of the operation, FYI. So, we've been putting together a rate model for you to kind of look at your financial position, where your capital replacement program will be over the next several years, and kind of see what that looks like for your rate. Lee has been really heavy into the model. And then what will happen is, you know, I'll look at some of the debt aspects of things, because that's where my expertise is. We've got Heather. Heather's one of our new employees, and she's just here to listen. So, but we've got a couple of things that I think the real highlights of this is, yeah, rates need to go up. And I think you all know that, but basically from our estimation so far, we're seeing that you're going to start declining cash, your cash position is going to start declining here in the next year. This by the end of this year, next year, if you go on your expected capital expenditure program. You can defer that, I guess, but at a certain point, your vehicles don't last. So you need to go on and start replacing those, and not doing that increases maintenance costs. So we've got some assumptions in here about increases to your different areas. You're not growing, so your revenues are only going to grow one way, which is through rate increase. Our expectation in our model thus far, which we're still working on with your staff to make sure we have everything dialed in, but we're mostly there. And effectively, in order to cover your deficit and meet your capital expenditure needs, probably going to need to raise rates between 20 to 25% ASAP. And that basically puts you at a break-even point where you're not increasing in cash, you're not decreasing in cash, but that's really where you need. That's high level, but that's kind of where we're at right now. I think by the end of the month, we should probably have something that's really solid to share with you. We can do a more in-depth presentation at that time, but yeah, I think about 20 to 25% is about where we're looking right now. And so the question then becomes, where do you throw that? Do you throw that into, your main revenue expense, garbage collection? Your other large ones are additional garbage cans, green cans. Those things are your main revenue sources. And so the breakdown between where you actually increase rates is kind of the question about what matters to you. Anything else?
So I know that we talked in the past about you looking at currently we're buying all of our trucks and things like that with cash.
Mhm.
Is it better for us to look into lease options to where we spread that cost out over time so we don't absorb the whole thing all at once?
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at that?
Yep, and that's what I'll do once we kind of have the rate model in place, is I'll look at your options for that. Right now, it's actually a really great option to lease. So you talked about your PTIP. Your PTIP is earning you a lot of money, actually less than you would borrow for. And so there's a real opportunity to make more on your cash than, if you're actually borrowing than if you were using cash to replace your fleet. But that's not always good.
Right.
And so, this is gut feeling without everything having been done. To look at it is long-term, the real goal, especially with the short lifespan of your assets, is really the cash method is probably going to be the best method. So getting back to where your rates can sustain your capital replacement, it should probably ultimately be the goal for you guys.
And I
You don't want to see me, basically.
You're right. Wow. We have, and then I know we were considering like a $5.50 rate increase, but we have talked in the past about breaking that out and doing 275 this year, 275 next year. You're going to look at those models too to show us if we do smaller increments over a period of time versus big chunks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see that the big chunks up front are more advantageous than the smaller chunks later on.
Advantageous to us versus, but we also have to
Right.
advantageous to our residents.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So, we looked at that. An example of this is Timpanogos Special Service District, north part of Utah County, second largest sewer district in the state. They're going on $1 billion capital replacement program right now. So pretty big. Their annual operating budget is about $15 million.
Wow.
So they have to increase their rate by 100%. They're doing they did 40% last year, then they'll do 15, 15, 15 to get to the point where, and then they'll do annual 3%. That's kind of the plan right now. They'll do it, but if they did a 60% right out the gate, then they wouldn't need to do those 15. They could do 5. But yeah, there's political implications for that. Residents hate tax increases, which is effectively a rate increase. Is right. So residents don't like service costs going up, but realistically, inflation is coming down. Yeah. Once for a couple of months. The last month, we saw it shoot back up again. So we've seen a couple of false starts where we thought inflation was tamed and then it wasn't. So those inflationary costs, the longer you defer the increases, the more you have to make up for those inflationary increases. So those are the things that, we'll provide options. The model will be very flexible, so you can see, and we can demonstrate what that looks like. We increased by 25% here. What do you need to do in order to meet it? Future years, 3%, is that sufficient? Or, does it need to be something else? So, it's something that you'll have lots of options for what you
Okay, well, if you come with options, you can come to the front of there anytime.
Okay.
And your crystal ball, anything on, I mean, we're making pretty good money on our savings right now. If that changes substantially, are you going to include that in your future what if?
Yeah, so, we look at a lot of different forecasts for that. So one in particular is CME, which basically says, what's the Fed gonna do, right? Because the Fed, rate target, that's really what affects your short-term borrowing rate. And the Fed cut 50 basis points last week, which was more than, it was a little bit more than originally expected. If you'd gone back a month ago, nobody would have expected 50 basis points, but then they started to move towards that expectation. And you can look on the CME and see how that expectation changed to where about a week ago, there was probably a 65% chance. So it became more likely to come. So they have projections going forward to the end of next year, basically saying we're probably going to be about 75 basis points lower than where we are right now. So I would say, if the PTIP has a 90-day turnover on all their assets in there, and so there's a little bit of a delay between what your PTIP rate is and what the Fed or what reinvestment rates are doing overall. But by the end of next year, you'd at least probably be below, about a 1% below where we are right now. That's my crystal ball. So everybody's bad at guessing where rates are going to be. The Fed themselves, they're bad at guessing where their own rates can be.
That's true.
So they're in their September report, you can see the band of their guesses for where they're going to be next year. And even the Fed governors, the Fed governors all disagree on where they're going to be by the end of next year. So, I'm not smarter than that. I can tell you.
It's not so.
Some of them are done. No, collectively, they're definitely.
Any more questions, comments, concerns? Well, we're looking forward to what you come up with and
Okay.
I'll some direction. Thank you. Okay, Pam?
That is, we're just gonna move on and turn the time over to Renee Plant, who will go over what we're doing with our website to help with compliance with HB 107. And that is recycling transparency. It's the language. Renee, please.
So customer satisfaction and environmental stewardship are two of what we call our strategic measures of success. Internally, we call it TROM. Just use a little acronym there, kind of fun. So recycling transparency reporting is, as Pam has indicated, to compliance with our 107 that was rolled out. And so what we're working on is helping you to where you can go on and show your residents, easily what the tonnage is in recycling, take it to the recycling MRFs, and so this is just a screenshot right here of what that will look like, and I pulled up our website so that you could see where to go to get that. So here's our homepage. When you type in longtouchfrontways.org, and over here,
And then before you go on, can you just make sure that the folks on the link can see that?
can everyone online see the homepage?
Yes.
Hello.
Okay, good. Very cool. All right, so this is something Jorge and I, Mia, had added to the web page a few months ago just to get ready, because we thought January is the first time that you all have to go in and show your residents, or at least make it known to them. And Pam and I will do the same. We go out to different community councils and councils to let folks know where to find this. So when you go to the homepage, if you click on the arrow at About, you go down here, and we added a new page called District Statistics. So you go in there, and this is Pam's favorite picture right here. Shows all the different services that we offer, and just to call out, this is through Q2. I need to go in and update it to Q3. And so once this month's over. I count on the fingers. And so if you scroll down here, this is where we get into more of the environmental stewardship, the recycling. And this at the very bottom here, which we may go ahead and move it up to the top where it's a little kind of the first thing in between. This will show tons by area. Jorge right now is working on gathering information for the rest of the small little subsets. And some of the smaller areas, like some of the unincorporated areas are a little more difficult to allocate because of the tonnage reports that we get from our recycling facilities. But we're working on some math to figure out how to do that. And so we're pretty confident we'll be able to have that for everybody.
I have a question on that.
Absolutely.
With the new law that passed and the islands and unincorporated are going away and moving into cities, how does that affect, have you heard that in analyze how that's gonna affect you specifically?
Well, they'll stay in the district, so I mean,
These are already in the district.
yes, yes, so we agree, I understand you, Sandy, which I think is like city. Gonna be all of it, that's gonna absorb the town east, right, the White City is its own city.
Yeah, I don't know.
And, but the, yeah, so I think it is Sandy City where they would be annexed.
Well, we've got more than just that. So there are some in North Salt Lake, there's some in Cottonwood Heights. I know Cottonwood Heights is looking at picking up some of those that might have gone to Sandy. We'll see who gets them.
Yeah,
And,
so yeah, they're
You
both
know.
in our district, but North.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
So the way the law works, it doesn't automatically remove, if any sort of boundary change that's within our district doesn't automatically change our boundaries. That's
Mhm.
not the case with here.
I mean, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, where it automatically shifts to go with the municipality if they have their own provider, but every other district, it doesn't affect our members. So there may be a circumstance where after these changes are made, we can discuss with those cities if it makes more sense for them to include them within their service, like Sandy, for instance, if they already have their own service there. But it would not be an automatic procedure. We have to do
That's
that.
what I wasn't sure about. Just why I was trying to understand how it affects
It is
you.
not automatic for us. We keep on business as usual unless the parties decide they want to take a meeting then.
Right now, that makes some sense then. I know, we're looking about a decrease of about 5,000 in our unincorporated area. So, see what happens.
In the southeast, there's probably about 1,500 that would go either to Cotton Heights or Sandy. And I think the Cotton Heights would take the unincorporated, Big Cottonwood unless they go to the town, right? I'm not sure. But you mentioned North Salt Lake. So North Salt Lake, there's about 25 properties that are in the district. And Salt Lake City has annexed them, and so the process will be that
They're already.
I will bring a withdrawal request to you,
Okay.
so that Salt Lake City can just service.
I think there's one more island out there that they're looking at, so in the North Salt Lake area.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. There's nothing on it right now, so I don't
Okay.
think we're exactly servicing it at the
Okay.
moment. But, we're seeing that all through the county right now. So
Yeah.
maybe we ought to sit down and look at a map and talk about it so that you know what we're looking at, what we're looking at.
I think, Kimmy, that's still,
I think so. Yeah.
and then the southwest, I think there's the big HOA, but that would, I think, still remain private.
Now that is still unincorporated, that was right there.
Yeah,
But we do have one in West Jordan as well, that's in process.
oh, certainly, okay, yeah, I think we'll stay on. Yeah, what's Jordan take for money on this? I
It's a
think,
lot easier sometimes.
I think that the main thing to note is that if any homes leave the district, we won't be impacted operationally,
Mhm.
because we're bringing on about 400 homes per year in the southwest. Now Magnus has some development going on, so any single family home we will take, so it's about 400 homes every year. What we're talking all told is one route, once a week.
I figured
So,
that
yeah,
was the case, but
We won't be
I wasn't sure how that
severely impacted.
kind of affected all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I think over time, as Rachel mentioned, it would take some time for the city to come and, ask.
Yeah.
For those homes to be, moved on.
And the only things that are affected are the islands, they have to be completely surrounded, so if they're peninsula, they're not affected by that.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Any questions on the limit? Okay. Make sure they know that. Moving on to, our scrap information. This is, through September 10th. And this should be pretty familiar. I added a few fun colors to the graph, to show, totals are in blue and averages are in green. So what you'll see here, Mill Creek, White City, Kearns, and Taylor will show high unaccommodated waitlist rates, but that also correlates to they had a high waitlist volume on their, in their areas, and you can see it right here, 722, 721, 613. So that was the correlation, to where it shows high. And the overall low cancellation rate of 1.17, that's, I think, is a good indicator of high resident engagement. Once they get that container, they're less likely to cancel it. And then we've effectively managed them straight with the streamlined reservation system that has really improved the whole process. And it's nice that Gianni can actually take some vacation time and during the scrap season if he chooses, and and it's a little quieter up front, so it's been huge. Any questions?
Renee, does this mean that next year, those that were on the wait list this year will move to the top?
That depends on the direction you all provide.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I've got some information to maybe help support your decision on that.
Good.
So over here.
I'd like to see that happen. I don't know if we need to talk about that now or
You want to see this deck?
The information.
if you have.
Yeah, I do. I do. I'll skip over this one and come back to that one, where we'll look at the repeat reservation data.
Okay, sure.
So we have all the communities except for Taylor, or Holiday, sorry, or Taylor, sorry. I keep jumping over here looking at the city, but it's actually right here. You see, right there, under city. So Taylorsville, because we just finished Taylorsville, we don't have that information just yet. But this shows Copperton, Sandy City, and Holiday, which is close, come up of Murray and Harriman. 48% of those that made reservations this year in Copperton were repeat reservations from the prior year. So that, to me, that's a good indicator that people are now understanding how the process works. They're like, okay, then next, here we go. Yeah. So, and then Sandy City, 31% of the reservations were repeat. Holiday, 29, Murray, 25, Harriman at 23%. So hopefully that will help give a little clarification on how many of our residents this year were repeat reservations from the prior year. So these folks would then be at the bottom for next year, right? If we go that direction. So then those that were on the cancellation list that were not accommodated in that prior slide I showed, then come to the top of the list, if that's the direction you all want to go. And thankfully, we have their contact information, we have who they are. So we could do mailer ahead of time, let them know. We could do some different things strategically.
Like an early reservation.
I like that.
They must stay a day ahead or something.
Yeah.
That to get it even here to stay, but
Right, exactly.
morning, if you don't do it, there's plenty of people that do.
That's, they grab it, right, exactly.
I like how they do it. Stay ahead or a couple days ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If we could go ahead and just plan on that, I don't know what it would take, Rachel. Do we need to make an motion? Do we need approval on it, or can we just assume that next year those on the wait list will, I would say a 5-day notice in case they're out of town when they get their card or their email.
You gotta account for them.
Can you bring it back to the board like next month with a plan that shows exactly that way we can make a motion to go that and be detailed and be in the packet first?
Yeah, we can put together maybe a couple different options on how to notify them.
I would like to do email and mail. I think that different people focus on different types of communication there.
Whatever kind of, some people who text.
I would say if there's a
You don't
text
have-
option, that would be really
even
great.
better.
Yeah, whatever you can look into that would be reasonable and not be super expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, one of our other tools that we use in Gene to work with Tony, who's our sustainability coordinator, our waste wizard application, whenever our folks, download that app and sign up, he can go out, he can send notifications out to them. And if they've opted in for text notifications, they'll get it up. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's only about 3,000, I think, that have signed for that. So we've been trying, but we've seen a huge spike in folks that are using the application just in the past 2 years. So more, I think we advertise that application.
Is there a way to reserve the scrap program on the app? Or is it just on the website?
Just on the website. Okay.
But if it contains a link, then that takes care of that.
Yeah.
Those are all really great ideas.
Yeah, but-
I love your idea, Sherry. Let's bring it back with the details and run with it. And all of those that represent cities and municipalities will be able to answer the questions whenever they come up during the middle of the year. Because that seems to be such a big program, and we can tell them right up front how it's going to work. Sooner the better.
But you should have all the staff by then.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, program will be over.
That was terrific. Renee, you've done a fabulous job on collecting this
Yeah,
data
this is so
and
helpful.
dissecting it and letting us know what all this means. So I appreciate that.
I just have one question, and maybe be something that we can dive into next time. So if people did reserve this year, are we saying that they can reserve it all next year, or that they reserve it back in the list?
It's essentially a second cancellation list. Yeah, so
Oh,
they would
okay.
be at the bottom of the list. So
Okay.
then those that were not accommodated on the cancellation list would be first. And then those, any spots left open would then be for live reservations that did not get a reservation this year. And then the third group would be
that makes
those
sense.
that got
Perfect.
reservation.
Yeah,
I like,
just figure they're priority list,
right?
You guys have priority.
Yeah, prior to the start of the way.
absolutely.
It gives me the call, right?
So you're doing this after, like, you close the reservation for the day, and then you go in. And normally I don't get the official, like, I got a dumpster email, so that when you're fixing all this stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. So Fiona and Jorge gets the list, he downloads it, goes through the data clean, yeah. And then Fiona and Ray get those reservations, they go through and see how many duplicates we have in there. And renters, because homeowners actually have to be the ones to request and approve it because of, you know, the liability that we got. So they go through and they look at that. They remove any of the renters, because Fiona gives them good time to say, hey, reach out to your landlord, they need to do this, you know? And so then at that point, they then take, if they have to remove those, they then go to the top with the cancellation. So
Do we have a way of knowing how many landlords act on that? Because I can see a situation where renters really need it and landlords are kind of like, do we have a way of knowing that or not?
Fiona, what's your?
Well, most of the time they respond.
Okay.
They will look at the render.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
I'm a landlord, I'm responding by. Finding your renters up for it.
We have had landlords come into the office and say, you know, rent trailers and do different things for their. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, anything else on that?
No, thank you. I think Cumberton is still ironing it out if they wanted to try to have an exception because they are so remote and there's not a population out there where the community, the town council, excuse me, would have more of a say or allow the residents to have a different way of, allowing the tea there.
Let's four be lame.
Down
Larry was talking about,
Yeah, down there.
neighborhood and
Yeah, six home.
right on the, right on the board of Stevenson.
All right. One final piece of information here, just wanted to show you all, the enclose of, how many containers we've been able to deliver per day, by year. As you can see, the 2024 is not complete because we're waiting for the final area there, but averaging between, around 70 containers delivered, and this is just delivered. So remember, service is a whole other number because they deliver, pick up, and, so it's a double if not triple that number, which is service number, but this is just delivered. And then, remind everyone that, our lovely folks up in the canyon, because they can't participate in the scrap program, we offer them a free trailer, one for the calendar year. And we're able through the website to track who does, who goes ahead and reserves that, who doesn't. And so this just shows, number of homes that we service and how many trailers have been delivered in the calendar year. And we know that Immigration Canyon has been very, very engaged this year. It's been great. So, this is higher, historically, I think we've seen maybe 40. So that's great. I think I was sort of communicating the benefit of that, which is really big. So, thank you. Yeah. So, any questions on that? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we move on to 3.4, 2025 proposed budget, fee schedule. Pam?
Yeah, so I want to point out that, right on the front page, are a wonderful employees. We have, both graduates from the apprentice program. He's a real, who just graduated last, we had a ceremony last, Thursday, during recognition celebration. And then, Lori Turek, who graduated in June. So they are off on their own, and we have new apprentices that have been hired, or one that has been hired. And then the other one, I think, is being down the final selection, but there were 20, you want to talk about that? There were a lot of that.
There were 21 candidates for that, and Lisa was able to go through and find them that actually already has a CDL work and experience, I believe. Hopefully I'm giving the right numbers. And we were able to move them over to our regular equipment operator role for them to be interviewed and maybe bring on board. So, but out of that, I'm going to tell you, I've been participating myself and Hazel in the final interviews for that last person, and all 4 of them. Well, we've done 3 of them so far. Wow, it's so hard to choose, because they're very excited. They've been wanting to drive a garbage truck for a long time, and those are the kind of candidates that we want to bring in for a career, not just a job, right? And so the program later. So anyways, so just the 21 candidates that applied, I mean, that just shows how much the word is spreading that, it's a great opportunity.
Is it possible that those that don't get selected to be on the next round, or?
Yes, absolutely. That'd be a year from now. I don't know.
So would you ask them, would you be interested a year from now then, as you're finishing?
Okay, thank you. The other thing before you turn the page, our goals, a world-class customer service is what we strive to achieve, and excellent employee satisfaction, environmental stewardship, and financial stewardship. I know that they mentioned environmental and customer satisfaction. But I think our vision is a sustainable organization that provides for the welfare of our community. And then our mission is to provide a sustainable, quality, integrated waste and recycling collection service for the health and safety of our community. And we added the because of everything fits in the can, because you saw that integrated system previously. So thank you, Renee. If you would move on. So this is a little different than what we presented before. The tentative budget may change as far as presentation, but with direction from you, we'll go through the numbers. To start off with, we want to keep the level to basically meet the mandate to provide the collection curbside on a weekly basis, or the containers up in the canyon, and then also for the services that the residents count on. So continuing on with weekly recycling, but you can see that integrated system. So we currently are charging $19.50 per home per month for these services. The only exceptions would be the green waste and then the glass, or the subscription services, and then everything else except for that front load is all part of the residential services. I will comment that we do have some residents that rent a front load container if they have a property that they need to have some extra bigger cans, basically, and we have a contract independently with those residents. So City Hall and et cetera, and also for Canyon. We continue on with the landfill vouchers, seasonal services, continuing with the scrap. Our goal is to continue with the 60 containers per day. As you saw Renee average that she brought up, the team was able to, on an average, deliver 70 containers this year on each day, excuse me. And then we have the landfill voucher, which is really popular, and the glass, central glass collection. And then the additional services I mentioned, but one thing to note is that we're adding the option of a 14-yard roll-off container as part of that trailer rental service. The thought here is that we do have our own containers, our own cooklets, that we can add this service. It would be also adding an FTE with your approval. And then the rate for that would be $135 for bulky waste. So just another option to consider. I know that the operations team has a vision of merging those two services. Trailers are aging over time. They're very expensive. So wondering if eventually it might make sense to evolve more into the roll-off option.
At what level are we subsidized?
Yeah, I'd like.
The trailer rental, if memory serves me correctly, last year when we did the analysis, it was about $3 a year out of that annual fee that we have. For the roll-off, it would roughly be, because it does cost less for that as well. So if you'd like it, we can go do a deep dive and come back with those numbers a little bit more. Yes.
Yeah, I've got enough.
Happy to.
Dive the program.
Yeah, they are.
Paperwork,
Okay.
personally. You know,
So
I'd like to see the data.
I would go with the information for.
On that, I just have a question. Okay. When you say these services are subsidized, what about the green waste and glass? Are those not subsidized?
that is correct. They are subscription programs, so they are self-sustaining.
Those are self-sustaining,
Which
okay.
is why the green waste does need to increase, because we're raising rates for everything else. So we have about 12,000 subscribers for green waste, and right now we're charging $10.50 a month. We do know that the composting facility out of the Salt Lake Valley landfill, that's the only place right now that takes the curbside green, they will be increasing their rate $3 per ton, so we'll go from $17 a ton to $20. So we do need to increase the monthly fee as well to cover that, but as well as increasing salaries, equipment costs, et cetera. So it may need to go up in 2026 again. We just need to evaluate what we can do. We do put some of our older trucks in that program that are depreciated, so that helps to reduce that cost. That makes sense. And then we contract out for the curbside glass, as you may know, with Momentum. We charge the residents $8.50, and right now we're paying Momentum $8 per month. So we keep 50 cents for that administrative cost of bill and customer service.
Great.
Okay, good question. Come back with more data on the subsidy for trailer and then the roll-off. All right, so the goals that we have, as we all know, costs are going up. Jacob hit it, that we do need to do a rate increase going into 2025, and we'll get into those scenarios that Helen reviewed and then discussed to talk about what's going to sustain us. I think you're familiar with this table. The only thing missing is cost for 2025, which I can add in, and as I go out to each council, I can have that available once I get some more direction from you going forward. So we know that the biggest cost increase that we have are the labor market wages and overtime that has gone up over time. And then the land and maintenance shop rates, which really we've seen a high increase. And coming into this year, we budgeted $4 million. We anticipate being closer to 4.8 because of the new trucks coming in, old trucks going out. I did mention that in the last meeting. Landfill fees are going up. And then fuel pricing, fuel is going up, but not a large amount. We don't, oh, let me jump back to the maintenance shop rate. So we have heard from Salt Lake County Police, who we contract with, they're gonna go up $3 per hour of our cost. That's not necessarily the cost, or the increase they give their mechanics. But we did meet with them, just last weekend. And, they let us know that that $3 will not sustain their salary market. They already know that they're gonna go up. So what their plan is to keep us at that $3 increase per hour of their rate that they charge us, reminding everyone that they went up $8 per hour in 22, $8.50 in 2023, and coming into this year with another $8, so $3 going forward. What they will do is use some of their fund balance to get them through 2025, and then we can expect another hike in 2026 for maintenance shop rate. And processing fees for recycling, that's the crystal ball, but being in touch with our service providers and vendors, trying to keep a close eye on that budget to make sure we cover that cost. There are times that I think you know that recycling processing fees have gone beyond higher than landfill fees. Right now, they actually are lower, so that does fluctuate. But the rates that we paid last year have come down this year, but we want to try to budget effectively for next year. Then other goals and priorities, continual process improvement, looking for ways to be more efficient out there. And then also, as you know, we did a test on the go back with residents that call in that we actually service them, or they had the cat out late. We want to try to identify those as we can, and not provide service when it costs more to go back. And then evaluating the equipment operator apprentice program. We're looking at 2026 to add SCE. Part of that is because and then understanding that it's a great program, but in essence, we have 4 people, so 2 people in 1 truck that are going around and training. They're not necessarily picking up a route. So it takes a good 6 months or, maybe a little less for them to actually be on a route. So we have 4 people that are training or not providing service. And right now we need to have people in the seats to provide that service and selection. So anticipating getting that more firm and the team to really be to understand what it takes, what we need to make happen going forward, and coming forward in 2026 with the proposal. And what would that look like? Well, maybe 1 more or 2 more FTEs, have 1 more apprentice available position. If that makes sense. So we'll evaluate that through 2025. There's no questions on that. Recycling load management, as we know, the commodities have changed, and so Keone and David and team are really looking at how can we be more effective at managing those loads and not having more trips going to and from the recycling vendors. So they're brainstorming and coming up with ideas of how to improve that, reduce miles. We are looking at switching timekeeping systems, which I mentioned previously. We're anticipating being able to make that switch before the end of the year and discontinue our contract with Kronos by the end of this year and save 9,000, just over 9,000 next year. It also helps with administrative workload as well. Right now, we have 2 separate systems trying to get them to communicate. It's been challenging, to say the least. And then, as you know, we were talking about the health insurance broker. We want to continue with the robust benefit plan and hopefully we know the premiums go up, but hopefully we can have not quite a big increase. As I mentioned, the investment account coming in-house for management. And then we're evaluating paid time off versus 2 separate leave banks. There are some benefits to that we'll go over with our team and then bring back to you. Let's jump into the dollars and cents that we made. In the interest of time. So with the revenues, looking at those, and I want to thank Helen for taking a look at our key scenarios and proposals. Right now, what we have is a $550 per home per month increase. to help balance the budget for 2025. We also want to show you as we go along that incremental increase. So the 550 is where we need to start. You heard Jacob talk about you really need to have higher lump sum right off the get-go. So that is what's in the revenue piece. We have a 3.5 increase for front load services, so that will go on with our contract services that we have. And then we are not looking at an increase for the town of Brighton. We've raised your rates, Keith, for the past 2 years, and we'll continue to evaluate if we need to do any adjustments in 26. So anything else on revenue, Tom, that you would like to cover? I will say that we're looking at a 2.2 million increase compared to 24 budget, if I'm not mistaken on that. Anything else you'd like to cover? Okay. Roll along to the next page. There's no questions on that. Personnel highlight. So, I want to thank you for approving the salary market adjustments that were effective for our equipment operators. There were 69 total positions that received that increase of just over 100,000 this year, and then going forward into next year, it's going to be 372. And then keep in mind that that's if all seats are filled, right? So we do know we have underspent personnel every year because of vacancies, which is that double-edged sword. So we're asking for based on salary markets and looking at what is happening out there with the state, with other municipalities, how much of the COLA is being recommended or has been implemented actually. And Hazel, I don't know if you want to talk about it. We want to propose a 4% cost of living adjustment. Do you mind?
Yeah, can I just say, first of all, it was great to be able to tell the equipment operators and me that the board unanimously voted for that recent market increase. One of our newest drivers opened his envelope, prepared, sent a letter individually for them, opened it up and said, "Holy shnikey!" Maybe a different word, but and they've all been really grateful for that. Again, it was great to like, support them in that. We looked at a lot of the surrounding cities and county have a June through July budget, so we can see what they've already given. And so that's how our consultant has come up with the proposed 4% for cost of living increase and 2% for performance increase, which would be when they reach their high of the anniversary.
And then we'll continue on with the lump sum for anyone that is at the top of the range that would not be eligible for that 2% annual increase. And then we have a placeholder for benefits and health insurance of 9%. And we're hoping that that's 5%. And we can come back with a tentative budget of a lower percentage with our new broker coming in and getting some rates for us. One thing to note is we did separate out, and I'm thankful Helen took a look at this. It makes more sense to have workers' comp claims and insurance broken out and not have it part of wages and salary, because that wages and salary was inflated when those are separate, that we pay, and then also state unemployment tax. There's no questions. We'll continue on with operations, unless you had anything else. Sorry. And then operating expenses, we have a increased cost of 5% in the truck maintenance from 2024 objective, and then the fuel is 3%, 3% increase for county landfill, and 5% for Trans-Jordan. As you know, Trans-Jordan's been raising their dumping fees $2 per ton every year for the past 5 years, really. And then I believe that we actually jumped up that, I apologize, the recycling processing fees, we'll jump that up slightly to 60 per ton just to cover that. We'll make that correction going forward. And then anything else any questions that you might have? Anything else you want to chime in with? Okay. All right, moving on to our capital purchases for 2025. As you can see, we want to keep that 8 side load truck replacement. With your permission, we do want to keep that, and we budgeted 436 for each of those going forward. We have one hook lift that would come on play. It's used from flood control that we're anticipating being available. We have 2 old hook lifts that are our property that really are not being driven. I'd like those to go out for sale and have those replaced with the one used one we had this year. We do have a new one that was part of the 2024 purchases that will be carried over. So anything you see carried forward is equipment that has not arrived yet. As you know, we ordered 4 diesel side load trucks. We paid for the chassis, and that was almost $1 million for 4 of those chassis. Going into next year, we're looking at paying for those bodies. If we end up paying some of that this year, that's great, but we at least have this budget and going forward. One of the other things to note in 2024 is, as you know, we had that concrete replacement, and so that was a $183K that will come out of our 2024 capital, which we have available to cover this year, which I'm thankful. Any questions on capital? The cab over, just so you know, that's for container delivery, or repair. So our container specialists are going out there in those what are called capital over trucks and making that service happen. So for total 2025, we have 5.5 mil, and we have that budgeted in the 25 budget. Okay, no questions, we'll move on. I know it's probably next page if you could. So this is the cash balances with no fee increase. And as Jacob mentioned, that we do need to raise rates significantly to sustain not just our capital, but our operation. And one thing to note is that I don't want to get in debt running our operation. That's a no-win for anyone. But the question is do we go into debt to purchase more capital equipment? That'll be some of the considerations that we'll review as staff and then talk to you about. As you know, we've been debt-free for decades. That preference is to run on cash, but certainly it's a policy decision, and I would follow any direction that you provide. Moving into fee scenarios, because we know we need to increase rates. Right now, as I mentioned, we're at $19.50 per home per month. This first scenario is $6.50 per home per month, and as you can see, we have this projected out to spend 98% of the expenditures going forward. $6.50 would move it up to $26 per home per month. And what that gets us is basically right now projected for about 2 years and having to raise rates again because we do not want to get into the negative since we're cash based. Moving on to the $5.50, just that lump sum alone. Right. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much for being here. So
See you guys.
we have just the $5.50 per home per month at $25 per month. Would be $300, but one of the projections we did show that obviously we would have just the next year having to raise rates again. So this one that you see before you is a fee scenario that Helen and I really like. It is incremental, however, I do recognize that the fact that 2025 is a larger sum of $5.50 per home per month, and then we have another $2.27. So one of the things that Zion did for us in the database that they collected and provided for us is they gave a number of days that cash would be, instead of a percentage, they gave a number of days. And, you know, one of the things to understand is that when you're looking at 85 days of cash available, that is 2.5 months. And for an operation like ours, I don't want to be too low. That is concerning to me. Maybe it's because I got used to a higher cash balance, that could be, but, with the services that we provide, if there were any urgent situations or an emergency, we don't have a cushion. So to have a 3% for a couple of years to see it grow, I think we can manage. If anything were to happen, I know that we can meet with you and make some adjustments, quickly. We're government, I know that we respond quick, pretty quick as we can. But, at any rate, that $550 per home per month, I would ask for acceptance or approval. And then the fee scenario going forward with the 2 and 1. I think we have a couple others in here, at least one more. Oh, thank you. Must be one of my pages are off, but yeah, this is without that incremental, as you can see. So we do prefer the incremental increases. Okay, any questions on those? Okay.
Do any of these scenarios keep us from going to debt?
The, you'll scroll back up to the 552,
2 and then 1.
that would prevent debt.
Yeah, these are all based on capital purchases with cash from the bank. So, yeah.
So they asked, I guess my only, confusion is, I went back through our packet last night and it's like, I'm not seeing that we talked a lot about the 275 increase and it kept us okay. And now all of a sudden it doesn't keep us okay. The numbers all flip and I'm confused about that.
And thank you for bringing that up. The difference is now we know what we're budgeting for 2025. That wasn't in there before. And so with looking at 2025 and what do we need to budget for, and having Helen come in and verify what do we need and is this accurate, are these accurate numbers? That's the difference. And I thank you so much for bringing that up.
The other was based on current scenarios, but we're seeing an increase, so this is based on the new increases, correct?
Correct. And what Zion pointed out to us was that we had budgeted a 3% operational increase over time and a 1% revenue. They said that 1% revenue is pretty close, but the 3% was low. And so, we had years where we were at 6% or 7%. And so going forward, plugged in at 4%, and having Helen verify that for operational costs, 4% going forward. I mean, you heard that, what I talked about with shop rates with maintenance. I mean, could we see that with our CDL drivers again? I know that there was a thought of, plan better for the future if we need a mid-year adjustment. And I'm open to ideas of how do we budget for that. I mean, I know we'll have underexpended personnel. Can we just count on that? Would you like us to plug in an extra $150K in personnel to try to anticipate that drivers' wages may go up again in mid-year? I'm open to suggestions of how best you feel we need to plan. I feel like we have a pretty good plan, but I'm open to ideas.
Because there was there was a budget projection on the 275.
For at 5%.
But that was the difference. You're saying that it was up to 3% and now we're budgeting for 4%. That's the difference.
That's the difference as well as what we have actually plugged into the budget. So the projections are based on the 3%, but going into next year, there's actually, higher than that, right? So it's higher than 4% going, I believe, higher than 4% for the expenditures for 2025. And then after that, it's 4%.
Don't be coming in here. Well, don't be coming in
Okay.
here.
We won't.
I hope that made sense. And valid point, and I think that's the key for future stuff. We have to look to the future and understand and label it for you. These projections don't include 2025. or next year, it doesn't include 2026. These are our best projections using the magic crystal ball that Katarina has given me now. I know you all care about this organization and the services as much as we do as staff. If you have other ideas or suggestions.
I personally would like to see some of the fees come up to where they're actually paying the full or not, but like some of the special program fees. So look at that, let's have people pay full amount, see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it's only a couple, right? Like,
Yeah.
The roll off
Just
and
the
the
roll-off.
trailer.
Yeah, I'd like to see that and just see what the differences are and what that does to offset some of those costs. You know, not a ton, but every little bit helps at this point. The other thing I'd like to see is, you know, looking at the difference between the 650 and the 550 plus the additional increases each year. I kind of like to see just, what that looks like on a regular home. You know, show me what the actual costs are, you know.
Oh, per home.
Yeah, per home, on average,
Per home.
in each of the different areas, because I'm kind of curious how that changes, if it does change in the area.
So program cost accounting per city, that's gonna be a little tough for us to drill down. But I can tell you the highest costs are the ones that are further away from here
And you're not,
and the W facility.
right,
So immigration, I can tell you, number one is Immigration Canyon, number two is Harriman City, three is the Southeast, Cottonwood Heights, and then as you move closer to the tipping facilities and here, the cost go down.
and that's all fuel related, correct? Fuel related,
Per mile cost, per mile,
fine.
and
time and fuel, yeah. no,
Are
you? Miles.
Just clarification, Lori, are you looking for what it would cost for each home?
I'm looking for that, I'm trying to understand the cost per area as well.
Okay.
That would be helpful to understand.
So you have to do the cost for us or the cost for the homeowner?
So,
Oh,
yeah,
and I guess we could just take an average, even though the homes obviously are all over
Yeah,
the place.
I mean, we
but
have an
just
average,
average
yeah.
person.
right now, as I understand, the average house in Salt Lake County is 605,000.
yeah, from the public safety,
Yeah.
right? You have to-
Yeah, 605, 607, something like that. Which is unbelievable, but
Well, I guess I also, I'm just really struggling with this 550, 650 increase this year. It's troubling to me. And I understand the numbers behind it, but then I have to start thinking. I'm looking at the comparison, it's not included in this factor, but I went back and looked at the comparison chart to other cities around us and things like that. I understand that there are some that have contracts with transport and things like that, other fees are much less, but then do we have to, instead of going, I think, terrible, probably shouldn't say it's more important. But, government, I believe, has a tendency to just go, oh, it's costing us more, we need to charge more, it's costing us more, we need to charge more. And I'm not suggesting your team doesn't do that, I can see that you're going back and trying to reduce costs. But are we providing services that we just can't provide anymore unless the public, like we do Christmas tree, we do leaves, we do scrub, excuse me, we do a bunch of other things that obviously cost. And so do we have to start looking at and giving options as far as we have this program costs us this much money? It's just, I need to be able to explain this to my residents and I have to go before them and say, you know, you're getting this tax increases, you know, look down the list on your property tax increases. This isn't listed there because it's a fee, but it might as well be listed there as tax. And I have to be able to explain that to them, and when they can look all around us and say, why are you guys so expensive? Then my residents are gonna say, RFP this, because we want a competitive bid against them.
Sure.
So I need to do, feel what I'm saying? So anyway, those are just some of my real concerns. I totally understand the numbers. I totally understand the cost increases. We all feel them. And when he said inflation's going down, it's like, well, it didn't take back all those rises in inflation, right? Negate all that, right?
Go down.
Yeah, it might level out.
The rate of increase.
Yeah.
Well, the rate is not going down, we saw steady and hold, and then it jumped up again. So we're not seeing it going down at all.
Right.
And that rate increase that they expected to put it on hold did not work. So we're not seeing that. I mean, long-term crystal ball, I don't see those costs going down. I just continue to go up at this point. So I don't want to say that we think it's gonna go down. I think safe-wise, we have to believe that it's just gonna keep going up at this point because there's nothing in politically that we're seeing, there's nothing in the feds or anything else being done right now that's stopping it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
On that note, I actually am more interested in this 650 right upfront increase. I know that that's harder, but it's only $12 more a year than the $5 ones. But if you look overall, compared to this 550 than the 2 than the 1, it's less increase over the course of those 3 years. And we are going to get hit. For me, I would rather just get hit once and then not repeatedly afterwards, even though, but that's my opinion on it. To me, that makes a lot of sense. And I just see that what we're dealing with now in all of our cities and in all of our districts is just the continued fallout from I'm sure all of us have had to increase our own property taxes and stuff. And so
We have not done that yet.
We have not either. Good luck.
You know what, not much coming up.
Yeah. That's where I'm coming from, is I kind of feel like that financially it makes more sense to do the 650 and to explain a 550 increase to a 650 increase to somebody, that's not a big difference. Yeah, like, I mean, to explain the 275 to the 550, I can see like that is a bigger, but I don't know, that's where I'm coming.
I understand. And you asked about the cost of home, just a quick calculation is, it'd be $390 and 58 cents per year. And we're not anywhere near that. Even at the 650, it'd be 312. So obviously, we never charge what it
We're
costs.
still
We
subsidizing.
never have.
Yeah. So we're still, and that's what I wanted to understand, because we're still subsidizing at this. And, you know, looking at what are we subsidizing that's offsetting that's per household and understanding that might be helpful as we look at this going further. I think first thing, I'm used to the 650 was for 2 years, not 3, correct?
If the 650, the scenario we have there is just a one-time shot.
One time.
Right. For 2 years.
We hit 0 in 2027.
27. So it only covers 2 years.
Yeah, so one thing to note, and just as a reminder, the things that influence our cash are selling of our trucks. And I'm praying that we sell them by the end of this year. And then going into next year.
Yeah.
How many can we sell and for what cost? What we have in there is about 60,000 per truck. Will we fetch that much? So far, what we've seen, we should get that amount, but I say should. The other thing that would influence our cash is any kind of under expense. So we have 98% of the budget going forward. Would we be under that 98%? History tells us that we could be at 96, we could be at 97, or we had years, and I don't know if we'll have them again, or we are at 94%. So, you know, those will be influencing our cash. I like the larger amount right up front. Could we carry longer? I hope so. I mean, we'll do what we can internally to extend that. You mentioned not subsidizing, so the leaf tree, you know, the leaf bag program is not a huge cost. It's and I don't even want to go off the top of my head because I got a lot of numbers right now. But with the trailer rental, we can certainly increase that. If you want it to pay for itself, it would be well over $200 for trailer rental, and that's okay. One of the things that we brought up with staff is, would you consider a fee for staff, which I know is not popular.
Yeah, right.
I know it.
That I like that it was part of the service that we're offering to make our rates this high.
Yeah.
And so if you say we're still gonna make your rates higher and we're also gonna charge it for the perk, it's like, wait a minute, wow, you know, that's hard to sell that.
Yeah. Well, and would that 660 go down
Yeah.
if we charge for that?
I think it's a really good conversation we need to have.
I agree.
because
Because
I'm
now the
getting,
scrap's not for everybody. it does make more sense.
It's subsidized by everybody.
Yeah.
It's not paid off
But
by
not certain
everybody.
people are getting it, so I think that is not necessarily a bad thing.
Still a service.
We could subsidize it a little bit, but at the same time.
And if it was a reasonable price, but people still felt like, oh, I'm only paying X amount, and so they do feel like they're getting a deal compared to what like a commercial rate would be. It's worth looking into at least.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Do you mean a trailer or and
Let's
scrap?
scrap.
Because I think we need to look at all the.
I think we need to look at everything and decide what we want to subsidize and what we don't.
Yeah, I think that needs to be part of the discussion.
Because I sit in, and all of you do, sit in enough meetings and with enough organization, it's only $5 a year. Well, if you keep adding that up, you're looking at $200 a month more, and that's a lot. So I want to make sure that we're not subsidizing things that people don't want.
Thank you, this is really good. So here's the question and looking for direction on this. October is adopting the tentative adoption of the tentative budget. Would you want to have an interim to review all this information before you have to tentatively adopt
I think we
the
need to.
tentative budget?
We need to.
Okay,
Good.
I like that idea.
Okay, let's get our calendars out and propose a tentative for the tentative. A tentative.
Ask that it's sometime after October 7th.
The other option you have too is if you want to put together a smaller committee to look at that and then bring it back too, so that the whole group doesn't have to get together. This group could choose to do that.
You certainly could appoint a committee.
I like that idea a lot. So that might be easier than trying to get all of us together. That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
How about we shoot for a day after the week of the 14th through the 18th? That would be after that. And whomever can come should come. The 14th is actually Columbus Day, and I know,
There's no work or no.
but I don't know, a lot of companies work on that day because they opted to take the other holiday instead of Columbus Day. Are you guys open on Columbus Day? Like,
So, yeah,
yeah, because there, when they added that,
and you could do it the week before, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th, if that was better.
So are we moving? Never mind.
We'll still have the tentative on the 28th as the regular board meeting.
I think for me, the biggest thing is having the data in front of me early enough. I'd be fine even meeting on the 28th, as long as I have the data in front of me that I can disseminate it and study it. Because, I mean, we get the packages right from Katarina, but if you're out of town, oh gosh, I didn't have time to study that enough. You know what I mean? If we had data in front of us as soon as possible, so we can start looking through it and understanding it. How, and that's hard for you to keep, I know. How quickly can you produce and provide the data so we can review it?
Well, but I would still like to meet.
No, I agree.
If we have to vote on the 28th for this, and it's
Right. I don't disagree. I just mean that how soon can you get the data?
So we have programs off the county that have been put together, and that we sent that off to Zion to take a look at as well. So we do have that data. We would just need to make sure that we vet it. And we could get that to you. We won't have September's numbers, but we do have August through August. And we have year over year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you all tell me if you'd like to have a committee, I'm fine. If you want the data sent out to the whole board, which I'm fine to do as well. And get some
I think
questions.
I think it's important that the
Yeah.
entire
But
committee.
you need entire work. I was just suggesting that in case it's hard to find the date. So
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Y'all are busy.
well, just pick a date and then the committee is whoever can show up.
Being official, how would that work as far as the law? Do we have to have a form for that?
For the
committee? No, just
For-
for a tentative of a tentative. But you'd have to respond and say whether you're gonna be here or not, because if you get it, we'd be in.
Well,
Yeah.
Right. Forum would be posted if it's just.
I think we just post it if we have a quorum, if we don't, we don't.
That's a good idea. Just post it and then whoever can come, can come.
And I leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm gonna throw the 15th out.
And in the morning, like early,
Sure.
that's my council meeting day, so.
As early as you'll need it.
as
Oh,
early
yeah,
as we
Mondays
can.
are better for me, but
And Monday.
Monday is holiday.
we could do the 21st or even the 7th.
You can't do. We need to do after the 7th.
On the seventh, yeah, we can prepare.
Could we do the 21st?
Going back to vacation.
That's 2 weeks.
Also, the week before, that's good.
The 21st, that gives us 3 weeks to really chug, well.
I think that works.
The other question I have too, though, is if Zion has come with the data, and we're obviously hired them to do that, I hate making a budget decision without looking at that data.
Yep. Could they get that before the 21st?
They said they can get it to the staff by the end of this month.
Okay.
Because I think that's important to
Yeah, I
have
agree.
that as part of it too. So the 21st,
First.
we have no event.
Rachel will not be available. I'm gone from the 17th.
We might be okay though, right? Because we're mostly talking budget to you though.
It depends on how low you go.
Yeah. We'll just make sure, okay, the 21st at 9 a.m. We can send out our invite.
Yeah. we
Is
do
it
the
okay to plan for
invite.
an hour, instead of an hour and a half, that?
For this, and we'll just focus on.
We'll get only that on the budget. You good with it? Are you good? Okay.
I just picked one and it's hard to
Okay. We need to, we need to approve a vote on this.
No.
I mean, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we need a,
You have that out.
all right. Awesome. So we will have that information back from Zion. We will have the data back on approximate household. Sounds like you might have already have that.
Yeah.
And the different scenario with 650 one time. Sherry, anything else?
Really good, all these things in there. Actually, on the 651 time, that gets us through to 2027. Could you get it through to 2029? Get us a scenario that gets us to the same distance.
Yes.
So what would we have to raise in 2027 to get it up? So give us the both together.
So let me make sure I understand the direction. So, keep the 650 in 2020.
Yep.
And then what would the fee increase in 2027 be?
To keep it
Keep
to
it 2029.
So we have to get it to the same place. Yeah, so what does it look like to get us to the same place?
And possible, what programs that we're subsidizing right now? There you go. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We didn't, I didn't have their numbers back by then,
We should have a broker get to work and have the numbers back yet.
because that would be helpful too, because it's 4% versus 9%, that'll be.
That would be
Huge adjustment in the budget too. Good point, important now. Okay, all right, so we'll table that. Anything else on proposed budget and fee schedule? We'll move on. Okay, we'll move on. 3.5 recommendation for drug and alcohol policy, and we'll turn this over to Hazel.
So we are looking at, this policy, particularly the alcohol portion, so we currently have a 0 tolerance policy. And we are looking at both the state and the federal regulations. So currently, for CDL holders, pretty strict federal regulations for that. Actually, let me go with 9.6, that's for employees that do not have a CDL. For those employees, we would only test them if there was reasonable suspicion that they were under the influence of alcohol. We would take them for breath alcohol test. We use a third party to do that testing. And if they have a breath alcohol result of 0.05 or greater, that violates state law. And they would be violating our
zero tolerance policy as well. They would be separated from the employment immediately. So for CDL holders, we would be following the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, all of them for short. So we're following exactly what is in their guidelines. So the CDL holder, and we do random testing every month. Again, we use a third-party testing service for that. They pull the names and everything. We're not involved in that. If the breath alcohol result is a concentration of 0.02 or greater, but less than 0.39, as far as benefit guidelines, that employee would receive performance correction and be referred to a substance abuse professional called SAT. And at their own expense, they would go through a professional counseling program. And then we would follow up with random testing for 6 months following that. And then they would be, after they successfully finish that substance abuse program, then they can return to work if applicable. Now, if they have a result of 0.04 or greater, that violates the federal standards, and they will be separated from employment immediately. So it's obviously, if it's federal law, it violates our zero tolerance policy as well. So we have a chance to work with them if it's that lower amount. Federal law does allow for that. Any questions about that update?
We're just getting into compliance with federal and state law.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. We didn't have that detail in there before, and we realized it would be helpful to have that detail.
So do we have training wise for our employees to understand how alcohol works in the body? I'm curious.
We have not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand, if they go out drinking and they get drunk that night, they come to work the next morning, they could still have it in their system and they can still go out.
We discussed alcohol and had training on just some days back, and I usually did it more like in the summer for dehydration.
Right.
You know, and they go to your really suffer dehydration.
But understanding how long it lasts, what you bring on the body.
That's a great idea.
Because most people don't actually understand what they're getting themselves into sometimes. You know, and it's interesting to me to see that when I work with people all the time, right? What does that look like? How long does it last? By the way, certain cough medicines will blow too. So what does that look like? And what percentage can it be? And how them understand what they're choosing to do and why. And which medications are safe for driving, which they're not. Some don't know that either, right? So there's certain medicines you would recommend over another that doesn't blow alcohol, right? So those are all things that I think a lot of drivers are not even trained or taught. I know it's not the state training. I can say that right now. So this just came up because we have a young driver who just met this last week that called me and goes, I don't know what to do. All I did was take cold medicine right before I went to work, and they had everybody blow that day. So he was within the small percentage, but he wasn't actually drinking alcohol. He just didn't know, right? So those are some things that we haven't talked about, and I don't think it's been discussed when we're talking how we're training our drivers. So I just wanted to bring that forward. It's on the top of my mind because of this young guy who's in his 20s, and he's like, I don't drink alcohol. I've never drank alcohol. I have that low percentage, you know, he's just shocked. You know, it's a really good point.
I do know that Utah Highway Patrol every 2 to 3 weeks where they actually bring in, they basically put you through the process of doing field sobriety test and everything, and I imagine they would be happy to partner provide, because they've got an actual training department just for that.
That'd be interesting.
And it would be interesting to see if we could partner with them and take the drivers through. Now, obviously, like, hey, there's, you know, something full on with that experience, and explain to them and go through some sort of training, unless they're happy to do it.
Yeah. And what we'll do is make that a part of our regular training, at least when.
Yeah.
Please take a comment there.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
I just know that knowledge is power, and if we can help them protect ourselves and us, then let's do it. So.
I have 2 questions. You said that they have to do the FAT at their own cost. Does their insurance benefits help cover any of that? Sometimes they have mental health kind of.
I will look into that, I'm not sure.
I'm just curious, like, get you right through that program, because sometimes it's,
Yeah.
it's cost prohibitive to people, so they just quit rather than trying to work through a problem. And then, this is very silly technical, but on the 9.26.1, it says will be subject to immediate termination of employment, and then the next one's talk about separate from employment. It just seems like the language should be consistent.
Yes, thank you for catching that. I made a note to make that separation.
Okay.
Okay. And then, the current insurance, I think we need to do some negotiating associated with our new carrier. If we have a new carrier next year, because it is not covered.
Okay.
Mental health, there is, but not.
And then-
Then it needs to be.
I'm gonna throw one more thing out. I know the state hasn't done a lot with this yet, but when we're dealing with substance control and medical cannabis, the number of people who have cards and the number of people who are refusing those cards to the point where they are impaired has gone way up. Is there testing for that, for us to be able to test for medical cannabis that's above what would be legally considered a card carrying person?
What's legal?
Yeah.
That was my point.
There's no, I'm in charge here.
Or,
Yeah.
you can't test it. Because impairment is a real thing. We see it all the time. We deal with it all the time. But they can legally do it, and they can only do it on the job. And so how do you test for impairment then, unless you're using medical cannabis?
I think it would just be like a reasonable suspicion if somebody is obviously.
But you can't test for it.
Reasonable suspicion, we can.
Or can,
Even if they have-
they have a card, yeah, and the CDL driver,
We follow federal law,
Yeah.
which is no cannot.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the bare minimum, if they're drivers, and not gonna be able to take advantage of it.
it's a lot like the
so
bank,
we,
right?
but
Make money as a marijuana business, you can't deposit the funds into a bank because it's federally regulated. Kind of the same thing, CDLs are federally regulated.
so is this, we call it a restriction.
Yeah, it's the very last paragraph.
Okay,
You do.
Or if they have a prescription drug, which is,
okay, perfect.
you are allowed to have a prescription, but if it rises to the level of impairing your ability at work, then you might have a problem anyway.
Being a medical.
It's something not, like, think of any kind of prescription.
100%, I agree.
Then, yeah, you might have a prescription for it, that's not a free for all for you to be impaired, and then it becomes a question of, do we need to discuss an accommodation or get a talk to your doctor and be, but at the end of the day, like, if your medical condition doesn't allow you to function at work, then.
It's not a job for you.
Yeah,
Okay, and I'm asking the question because I wasn't sure.
I'm glad you're asking. And then for, any illegal use of drugs,
Right.
then it's automatic separation. Right, so this was just, we needed more, detail and, clarification and adoption from you board for the outcome. Because even if somebody under the zero tolerance, if somebody blew 0.02, and this is after two tests. So the first one, if it's above, then they get a second test 15 minutes later. So when somebody blew 0.02, zero tolerance, they're gone. That's why it's like, please help us. Yeah. See where I'm going? But if they are over the legal limit, that's another story.
Yeah, another
But you're right, there's people that we had a situation that somebody didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert, did you have a question? And love the idea of the. I think
The training.
Thank you so much.
And our insurance company may give people the rate, a better rate, because we are providing the training. Okay, I need an approval, we need an approval on the recommendation for drug and alcohol policy.
I move approval of the drug and alcohol policies presented. And I also add to that, that we look at some training to help our drivers and our employees know about.
And a second by Greg, all those, I just have a clarification, that's with the changes to the language.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and with both of those amendments. And Greg, second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Terrific. Thank you. Hazel, thank you.
We're good with you, Kaiser, and Ray.
Oh, please, Board Member Kaiser?
Oh, sorry, I'm a little under the weather. I was just raising my hand in support of the motion.
Good, then. Great, thank you so much. And you're still online and you don't feel well. Yeah, that's terrific. Okay, we'll move forward the closed session, and this is in discussion of direction for the 2025 budget personnel compensation. So we'll invite Renee and Katarina and our friends here to leave us at this time. Rachel, Hazel, and Ralph for that.
You're the motion for the closed session.
And a motion for closed session. Okay, Brett Hill and so
Can you do a roll call?
roll call.
Chair Ellen Gary,
Yes.
Vice Chair Greg Silver, Eric Kaiser,
Here.
Brett Hale,
Yeah.
Emily Gray.
Yes.
Keith Dustin,
President, yes.
Marissa Trina.
Yes.
Matt Wilson, you. Dick Sudbury. Patrick Staver,
Here.
Robert Neal,
Yes.
Terry Edwards,
Yes.
Tessa Spitzer,
Present.
Tom McIver, go ahead.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to number 5, the requested items for the next board meeting. So we're gonna have to make a change because we're going to have a next board meeting on the 21st of October. Tentative for a tentative. And then our next board will be Monday, October 28th.
So Lori was mentioning that if we meet on the 21st, that's gonna throw off the schedule for all the city councils. Is that?
I was just gonna say, I was looking at the schedule when we're gonna go talk about the fee increase, without having a decision on the fee increase. That's the problem.
You've already identified, right?
Yeah, so the way I've been approaching it, thanks for bringing that up. The way I've been approaching it is just to show that table, and I can plug in the 2025 budget going forward, but unfortunately I didn't do that for those that already visited. But just basically saying you have been having discussions and your staff are making recommendations, 5 to 6, maybe higher dollars. I think board Vice Chair Shelton has been talking to your constituent.
Yeah, we had an open house last week, and I actually, since a lot of them that we could be looking at $6.50 to $10 even, just as let's see what they.
Good news.
It's not so much that, it's just to kind of see what kind of reaction, and you think about it, it's $6 a month, it's a Happy Meal, it's a $6 biggie bag at Wendy's, one time a month that a resident would have to give up. And none of them even bought, and I kind of explained, we're kind of chasing that COVID spike, where a lot of other businesses saw the opportunity, raised their rates, and we're kind of in a reactive state, and every one of them was just like, well, I guess, it is their turn, and they kind of said it's not even that big of a rate. As far as rates normally go, yeah, maybe it's a little bit high, but you're not talking about, $50 or 30, like a gym membership of an increase. So all of them are receptive of it. Obviously, nobody wants to pay more, but none of them seemed like that was ridiculous.
Most people seem to understand.
Yeah, and that's what, fuel, labor, all these other things that are affecting our ability to do business. At the end of the day, what's your priority? Your biggie bag at Wendy's, or to make sure your trash is picked up every week? Because if we're insolvent, we can't provide the service. And it's gonna cost you a lot more to take your trash to the dump, as however often as you want anyway. So, I mean, they're doing it cheaper than we could do it at our end.
Yeah, I think to your question, what has been presented to the city is kind of a broad overview.
Thank
What
you.
is it for
I was
you?
kind of concerned when I started looking at the dates, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I do understand that, but at the same time, it's helpful when,
Yeah.
Well, and probably the biggest thing is just to reiterate the public comment, the public hearing that we have to try to make sure people understand. This is
Come to the public hearing. But,
Yeah.
Or.
Board members, it just has to have.
Board member sister?
So Pam came up and gave a really great presentation to the Copperton community and our council. And I think we viewed it a little bit differently in the sense that we were all in favor of an increase, primarily because Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling is really good about providing quarterly reports. We've seen how different things have been cut in areas and different job titles have been combined. We've seen how even with the trucks, we've tried to resell them and make sure everything's up to date and current, and we're providing the best service we can to our community. So we actually had a favorable response here. We didn't compare it to anything else. We kept this solely just this particular fee. We have a lot of tax increases actually being presented to our town in October, and the climate is very different with those. The tax rate hikes that we're looking at are presented very differently. We don't see a lot of the same transparency with different finances. So I think everybody in our community was really happy about seeing the numbers, where they come from, why that makes sense. They were appreciative of the fact that fee increases haven't happened for a long period of time. So I think our town will be completely prepared to support.
Thank you, Tessa. Those are great comments. Very transparent.
Yeah.
There you go.
My biggest objective is only like.
Great.
The minute I know you'll.
Okay, so we have a tentative adoption on October 28th, and we need to confirm the comment meeting, which is traditionally in November.
November 18th at 6 p.m. You can either do that now, or you can
do
do that on during the October meeting. Either way, we'll plan.
Okay, we'll just plan on that in October. You never know what's gonna happen. There's an election coming. The world might come to an end.
That's right.
No, we may not have to have a meeting ever again. Okay, then we'll have the general manager's report. Anything else we want to add?
That's our public.
All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that.
Oh.
I just want to report to the board that I've been working with Pam and the crews on a special problem that we had up in the canyon.
Oh, yeah.
It has to do with the dumpsters and
Yeah.
illegal dumping and the purpose of the dumpster enclosures that we have are specifically for. And we divided the plan, and Gage, one of the drivers, really worked with me during the breakfast to say, hey, if we did these steps, this is how Brighton does it. We were able to implement locks and get those combinations out, and it has gone from being literally a dumpster fire where it takes 5 guys to clean every week to something that you can walk into.
Wow.
It's been a huge improvement. We're going to be doing it at the furthest one up, the Pinecrest, and it has helped the neighbors that have no other options to solve a big problem. I share this because you may have unique problems in your communities. You may have situations that kind of are very much how your people live. And so I just want to say thank you for helping us solve the problem and come up with something that's going to be probably easier for you guys to handle, less manpower. And we are the furthest ones away, so whatever we can do to help, I think.
That is great.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Love to hear that.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, we've made some adjustments ourselves. We replaced some fake cameras, mounted them on the back side of the area, because they have a little flashing red light that goes on, and there's batteries in it, so it's like runs at night, so you see it. Then they did put up night sign that said this area is remotely monitored by camera. Yeah, so it looks like it actually could work, but we're back to how do we enforce it. So that's next step is basically we're going to put up a wildlife camera.
Yeah, that's great.
And it can run, and you can just log into it, collect the photos. it's good, but yeah, we never know what's gonna happen. Cause it, you know, where the situation is to drive by, it is there.
Yeah.
You drive
Yeah.
by, anybody can dump anything, so. We're good.
And thank you, board member Pignon, and then board member Deuce, and you are our eyes up there. I mean, our drivers are up there, and periodically I ride my motorcycle up there to take a peek, but you're there. And I want to say thank you for reaching out, letting me know that there are issues, because our team wants to respond. And
It keeps our cost lower.
Yes.
So thank you.
And that's what I have when we do, you know, our board report, trying to stress to the community that people that are doing that, you're paying for it, or you will be paying for it, so.
Thank you. All right, anything else? We appreciate all of you being here. It's a long meeting today, and I'm sure all of you have nothing else to do. So. That's done. All of my favor.
thank you all very much. I love. We got some work to do.